So the occupation that I've chosen to demonstrate today is hand sewing a button. The skills required to hand sew a button is fine motor manipulation, visual perceptual skills, and following proper instructions. The neurological diagnosis I've chosen to focus on is Parkinson's disease, or PD. It is a degenerative central nervous system disorder. The average age of onset is 57 years old. Common motor deficits of PD include decreased fine motor skills, muscular rigidity or cogwheel rigidity, or jerky movement, reduced manual dexterity, tremors, decreased concentration and attention, visual spatial interference, and decreased ability to receive proprioceptive and exteroreceptive feedback. So climate factors that may affect motor performance, they are subdivided into individual, environmental, and task constraints. Individual constraints may include decreased motivation, lack of attention, decreased confidence, frustration, and lack of interest in the activity. May also be inability to focus vision in dim lighting. Environmental constraints include dim lighting in the home, gravity, not enough adequate space to perform activities such as a clean tabletop. And task constraints, the individual must be able to manipulate small objects such as a hand needle and button. They are aware of safety precautions such as the use of a sharp utensil and following guidelines and directions. So compensating for the motor deficits, compensatory techniques for activity is needed. So first, before we begin the activity, we're going to start with some hand and wrist strengthening exercises. These assist fine motor manipulation and dexterity. The exercises should be done before beginning the activity to increase wrist and hand strength to manipulate objects. They can also be done after the activity is done too. So these should be done for 10 reps each, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to do them a couple of times to demonstrate what we'll be doing. So first we're going to squeeze the hands into a fist pretty tight, then release them, and do that a couple more times. Next we're going to place our hands out in front of us, and we're going to do wrist flexion and extension. Just doing 10 times each. Next we're going to move to wrist supination and pronation. Next, moving to our fingers, we're going to do tip-to-tip opposition digits 1 through 5. So tapping our thumb to each finger and doing that 10 times each finger. And last, we're going to do finger flexion and extension, but only curling the fingers. This is not including our thumb. All right. Now beginning the activity, we're going to go over the materials needed. So first, a larger hand needle if accessible. A smaller button may need to be replaced with a larger, more easy to manipulate button. Thread that matches the color of the button. Fabric or shirt with a missing button. A needle threader, which decreases visual perceptual skills needed as well as fine motor skills. A thimble to protect finger from injury when pushing needle through fabric. A book reader or small lamp to reduce dim lighting in the workspace. A needle grabber or jar opener to assist with pulling the needle through fabric and prevent needle from slipping. Scissors with grips. A ruler to measure thread length. And a straight pen. So next we're going to begin the activity. The first step is to prepare the materials and set up a clean workspace. Performing the activity on a tabletop will decrease the effects of gravity and ease some of the stress put on the muscles being used. First, we're going to cut the thread to 24 inches. So using our ruler laid out on the table, we're going to measure it to about 24 inches. You're going to do that again. Alright, so that's about 24 inches. So after you measured out, you would cut the thread, but for the purpose of demonstrating this, I already had a thread cut out. So next we're going to use the needle threader to thread our needle. So using a large hand needle will decrease the difficulty manipulating a smaller object. The needle threader helps to guide the thread through the eye of the needle, relying less on the individual's visual skills. So first we are going to insert the very tiny wire at the end of the needle threader into the eye of the needle. Now once you've done that, the needle should stay there. Next we're going to take the tip of one piece of our thread into the small wire of the needle threader and pull it a little ways through. Next, once you've done that, you can just pull the needle off of the wire, grab onto the thread so it doesn't go all the way through, and then you can pull the needle threader off. So now that your needle has been threaded, we are going to knot the thread. So we're going to use a double thread since we're sewing a button to make sure that it's secure. We're going to use the wraparound method. It's easier than tying a knot, just using a couple of our fingers. So to do the wraparound method, we're going to place the end of our thread on the top of our needle and hold it there with our right hand or dominant hand. So we're going to hold the thread on the needle right there. Now using our other hand, we are going to take the loop of thread, wrap it around the needle around 3 or 4 times. And once you've done that, you're going to take the tips of your finger that's holding the needle and slide the thread off of the needle, making sure that it doesn't get tangled. You're going to make sure you have a very tight grip on it. And pull all the way down to the end so that you created a knot. So next we are going to move to sewing the button. So we're going to place the button on top of the fabric to insert the needle with thread into the fabric and through one hole of the button from the back side. So a larger button has larger holes, will decrease fine motor and visual skills needed to hold the button in place and placing the needle through the correct hole. Also, a thimble may be placed on the finger being used to push the needle through the fabric for protection of the fingertip and prevention of the needle slipping. So we're going to hold the button in place and we are going to take the needle in the back side of the fabric, insert it through the front of the fabric. I find it easiest to just place the needle through one of the holes right there and pull it all the way through. So now that we've done this, we're going to place a straight pin underneath the button where the first stitch was made. This ensures that the button doesn't lay too flat against the fabric. I'm going to just pinch a bit of the fabric. Now tighten the button back up again. So now that the needle is on the button side of the fabric, the needle should be inserted through the second buttonhole to the back side of the fabric again. So we're going to hold the button and loop it through the second hole. Ensure that it's tight enough and it's not going to slip. I'm going to pull it all the way through. So now it's on the back side of the fabric. So you're going to pull the needle all the way through. Now the needle threader may help the individual to manipulate the needle easier and prevent it from slipping. If the individual is using the needle threader, it would just be done like so. So we're going to loosen this a little bit. So when you're using the needle grabber, you're just going to wrap it around the hand needle and then just pull it from there. This makes it a little easier. Alright, so now we're going to repeat the process of inserting the needle through the bottom of the fabric into one buttonhole and looping it through the second about 6 times. So I'm going to go back up where the first stitch was made, up through the first buttonhole. Now back down through the second, up through the first, down through the second, Okay, lastly, once the needle has been looped 6 times, the button and the button is secure, the thread will need to be knotted. So you're going to want to make sure that the needle is on the back side of the fabric. So we're going to make sure that it is all the way back there. Then on the back side of the fabric, use the needle to pinch a very small portion of the fabric. Just like so. Now, not pulling the needle all the way through, there's going to be a little small loop that's formed. You're going to insert the needle into the loop and pull it all the way through. Now do that a second time. Pull it all the way through. So you're going to pull tight on that. You can also use the needle grabber again. Now once the knot has been made, the remaining thread can be cut. You can also cut these little remaining threads too. Alright, and then you have your button. You can also remove the straight pin, so now you have enough room to insert it through the buttonhole. So tips and recommendations for this activity: the individual may benefit from the use of cue cards to guide them through the task. Encouragement of limiting multitasking and eliminating distractions can help to focus the individual's attention on the task. If frustration occurs during the activity, allow the individual to take a break and